Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we are taking a look at the Chantecaille Fall Collection. So Chantecaille is actually releasing two sort of like mini collections for fall. So there is the Black Jaguar, which is what we are looking at today. Then there's also the Cougar collection, and Black Jaguar was released first, so I have that already. I did order the Quartet from the Cougar collection and I'm waiting for that to arrive, but I will have a video on that as soon as that arrives. So take a look here at the actual case here. This is the same type of material as all of the other Chantecaille Quartets that have come out in the last few years. So with this kind of material, if you stack them and you leave them for a little while, they do kind of adhere to each other. Not to make marks on here, but it's just something to note because if you go to pick up the top one, sometimes the bottom one clings and then you drop it. I have actually lost eyeshadow from it breaking doing that. So just something to note if you are trying to stack these, just be very careful when you pick them up. So notice the Black Jaguar lip cheeks have black and green for the actual casing here. Everything in this collection is limited edition, as well as in the Cougar collection. The Cougar collection also has a quartet and two lip cheeks. So we're going to start off with some swatches. I have a couple of demos, this lighter look that I'm using today, the lighter eye look, and then a deeper eye look as well. So here again is the Black Jaguar case. We've got 5 grams of product. There are 4 shades in here, and these are made in Italy with a 2-year shelf life. So it does come with a mirror up here, full size for the packaging. It also comes with a little plastic, piece on top there so that you don't get a mess everywhere. But these are the 4 shades. And you can see this one looks white, but it's actually not. It is the major color on my lids right now. So let's start off with swatches. So Chantecaille's been doing these quartets for a few years now. They started off with the butterfly quads, or quartets as they like to call them, for a spring collection a while back. And I loved them, but I would have to say that compared to now, I feel like the formulas of these shadows have become more refined. So this copper shade in particular is very, very creamy. This one here, it looks white, but you can see on my eyes, it's really more of a like bluish tint. I'm just gonna add another layer so you can kind of see that a little bit better. But this one is going to be, the silvery blue is going to be a little bit firmer in the pan. It's more firmly pressed, a little less creamy than the copper. The copper shade here, which is really more of a bronzy coppery brown. That one, I mean, look how lush and rich that shade is. That's going to be the creamiest of the 4. It feels almost like a cream shadow. It's that creamy. Then we have a matte black, and it is a fine matte black. Some matte blacks can be a little bit more powdery and chalky. This, I would say, is not particularly creamy, but it's not dry either. So good quality black there. And then we have this deep shimmery blue. And this is stunning. It's a really deep blue, but it does not actually have a black base to it. So I turned down the lights a little bit just so you can kind of see this a little bit better. But here are the 4 shades. So as I was saying, this blue is a really deep kind of, not quite as deep as like a true navy, but it's gonna be kind of, it reminds me of like a night sky, kind of like just past twilight. And it's very shimmery, it's gorgeous. It does not have a black base, but it does have a gray base. So, not quite as deep as a shadow with a black base, but kind of close. Now, as for the lip cheeks, there are 2 in the Jaguar collection. There's this lighter shade here, Passiflora. We're going to be putting this on my hand. Please note, this is just like marker that won't go away. I took my daughter to the doctor, and the doctor wrote on my hand to show her what he was going to do to her, and it won't come off. So this is Passiflora. You can see that this shade here is going to be a soft pink with a little bit of mauve tones to it. And then on my lips right now, we have the shade Orchid. And we'll just go right over that smiley face there. And you can see that this is going to be more of a deep berry wine shade. This is what is currently on my lips right now. As always, these Chantecaille products have no animal testing. They are gluten-free and vegan. As I mentioned, the eyeshadow quartet has a lifespan or an expiration date of 2 years, 24 months. And it says on the box and on the package that they are 0.5 grams total weight. So half a gram total weight, but it says they're 0.07 ounces times 4 shadows. Looking at the previous quartets, they all say that they are 2 grams of product, 0.07 ounces times 4 as well. So I'm not sure if there's an error there because it definitely feels, you know, they look like they're the same size. So just something to note though. And then the lip cheeks have a 1.5 year or 18-month shelf life, and they are also made in Italy. They have 2.5 grams of product. Now, just a little disclaimer about product weight in general. Product weight is not always the best standard to go by for volume and how much use you'll get out of a product, because certain pigments do weigh more than others and formulations can have a different mass to them. So, you know, there could be other reasons that this is marked as 0.5 grams for the eyeshadow palette, but I don't know. I'm not sure what the issue is with that, but it's just something to note there. But again, I do believe that there is the same actual physical amount of product if you are talking about the volume of the product. Now, as we are looking at these demos, you can see how these shadows perform on my eyes. I would have to say that starting from the top of the quad, this shimmery one that looks white in the pan in the pictures is actually going to be really more of an icy blue, a little bit of silver in there, but it's a cooler tone shade. I think it's really beautiful, a great addition to this palette. It goes on nicely. You can use this as a topper for others, but there's some opacity to this, so don't expect this to be completely sheer. Like a traditional topper. There's definitely some opacity here, so you can use this on its own, and I do that with the second eye look. This coppery brown shade, oh my goodness. This is my favorite shade actually in this palette because I just think it's so wearable. I love the creaminess of this, and you can see that it has this very rich appearance to it because of this creaminess and this slight satin metallic sheen to it, without glitter, by the way. The shimmery white shade does have sparkle. The blue shade has some glitter pieces. This brown does not. It just looks incredibly rich and more like a wet velvet. So I really love this shade. As for the undertones, it's, you know, it's a slightly warm color, but it's relatively neutral. You don't see any undertones peeking out when you shear this out either. So it's not particularly gold or particularly red or anything like that. So I think it's a really great shade, and I would love to see this as a single. As for the matte black, it's a nice matte black. It's pretty standard. It's not as chalky and dry as some matte blacks. So I think it's a good quality matte black. It's one that I probably won't use quite so frequently. And, you know, for me, it's not super necessary just because the blue is deep enough to provide kind of that deep accent color for me. But for people with deeper skin tones, I'm sure this will be appreciated for adding in more depth. Although I have to say it might have been nice to see something other than black, something also deep, but either maybe more of a deep charcoal or a deep brown to kind of go with this. Just something a little different, but it definitely is going to be just a traditional black. The blue, I have to say, is gorgeous. I mean, think of like a shimmery navy gown. That's what it makes me think of. Nighttime sky. And as I mentioned, there is a little bit of glitter in this shade, and it is blue. So the sparkles in here are going to be kind of a vibrant blue shade. And I just think this is beautiful, whether you want to put this all over and have something very dramatic or use just a little bit of it at a time. It goes on well, it's creamy, it's smooth, And I have to say, with the first demo, I applied this before applying like foundation or anything, and I did not get any fallout from the shadows, and I wasn't sure if I would. Sometimes these can be a little bit messy with the glitter and the shimmer, but it really wasn't. So overall, I have to say I really like this quad. I think it is very fun, and I love the colors. I'm so excited to see Chantecaille doing something deeper. They are traditionally very neutral, very similar color stories, and this was branching out for them, in my opinion. So talking about the lip cheeks, I really like both of the lip cheeks actually. So I think Chantecaille lip cheeks are a fantastic product. They have long been a favorite of mine. I don't use them as much as I did Once Upon a Time, but Once Upon a Time they were my very favorite lip product. They do have a vanilla scent to them, but I love the comfort on the lips and the amount of shine that you get here. Wear time on these is average. It's not supposed to be a long wear lipstick or anything like that, but they're very comfortable, they're moisturizing, and they have a lot of shine without migration. And I just think they are great. I'm really happy to see some cooler tones here. This lighter Passiflora shade, having a touch of mauve in there helps it stand out a bit from some of the other Chantecaille lip cheeks. Quite often with their collections, you're going to see colors that are more similar to those in the Cougar collection, which are their neutral peachy pinks and even like a cooler pink and so forth, but you're kind of in the same range. These colors here are a little bit more pigmented than what we typically see with these Chantecaille collections, and I'm very happy to see them, and I'm happy to see that they are leaning cool. So in summation, I have to say I'm absolutely loving this Black Jaguar collection here from Chantecaille. I love how they've kind of done something a little bit different from what they usually do. Everything has very high quality, and I just really like this collection. So one other thing I wanted to note, a portion of profits from these items and the other philanthropic items from Chantecaille, they always go to support the animal of choice or habitat of choice. And in this case, for the Black Jaguars, there is a portion of profits that are going to support the Amazon Sacred Headwaters Initiative. And that is to help protect indigenous territories, over 86 million acres. And again, that is going to be like the home area of the Black Jaguars. So all of this kind of helps protect them. So just something to note. And let's go ahead and take a look at some comparisons. We are going to start off with the eyeshadow comparisons, and we're going to start off with one of the new Guerlain quads. This is 360 Mystic Peacock. Okay, so obviously the quad itself is not going to quite match this, but let's take a look at this blue shade here and see how this compares. And that's the one that we're going to look at. You can see this is going to be a nice bright blue. The one in the Guerlain, you can see it's going to be a little bit brighter. It does not have the shimmer, and it doesn't really have that grayish base to it either. So they are going to be a little bit different. This is definitely going to be a little bit brighter, more cerulean in comparison to the Chantecaille. This is Tom Ford Metallic Denim. And I have to say, these colors here don't really translate all that well. You know, they look better wet than they do dry. They don't look quite as pigmented dry. We're just gonna put these going here so you can see what the quad color story looks like. You can see how much more muted the blue is here. And again, it's more of a denim blue by choice, but you can see it's going to be a little bit grayer, a little bit lighter than the Chantecaille. One other thing I'd like to note about the Chantecaille Quartet here is oftentimes these quartets will have a special shade like a duochrome or something. There is no duochrome with this, but the formulas themselves I think are actually just stellar. Moving on, this is one of the Dior Velvet palettes. So again, we're not going to have the same type of formula. This is 189 Blue Velvet. It is limited edition, but I just wanted to take a look at these two blue shades here and show you how these compare. We're going to just put these right here. And you can see that the colors these are much more Wedgwood than the Chantecaille here. And this is the Dior 279 Denim. This is a permanent palette. It looks pretty blue here, but these are actually going to end up appearing to be more green. So these two here are green, so we're going to skip those. We're just going to do these two more blue shades. And let's just put them right here. You can see we've got more of a turquoise, and this deeper navy is more of a true navy, more of like a blue-black kind of shade. So it's going to be very different from that in the Chantecaille. Now we're going to take a look at some of the Chantecaille Luminescent eye shades. This one here is Lion Golden Copper. And let's see how this compares. Up here, you can see that this one is going to be a little bit more golden, a little bit brighter than that in the Quartet. This is the Giraffe in Burnished Brown. Put that right next to it, and you can see this is going to be much deeper. And this is Leopard or Wild Bronze. And again, this is going to be more similar to Giraffe there. And then just a couple more comparisons. This is the new Gucci eyeshadow palette. We're going to take a look at these three blue ones. Although that last one is kind of like more of a purple, but it's like a blue purple. So I figure might as well swatch that there as well. So we've got one, that's the light blue, more of a turquoise, and that's more of the blue purple. But this one here, that's that light ice blue, I wanted to show you how that is definitely more blue than the one in the Chantecaille Quartet. Here's the Chantecaille shade, just so you can kind of see those side by side, and you can see that it definitely looks a lot more white. One more blue shadow I wanted to check out. This is the Soleil Neige Quad from Tom Ford from a couple years ago. Actually, we're gonna take a look at this color story itself, because it does kind of remind me, they're not the same, but it does have some reminiscent shades here. So you can see that the blue here is going to be much more like that in metallic denim. This brown is going to be a lot softer and lighter, but again, we've got a black. This is going to be a warmer black than that in the Chantecaille, which is more gray. This has a little bit more of that brownish to it. And this is going to be more white than the one in the Chantecaille, which is more light blue. Let's move on to the lip shakes. I don't have a ton of comparisons for the orchid shades. We're going to start with that. This one here is Hyssop, and this one came out with the Butterfly collection. So let's put Hyssop right here. You can see Hyssop is going to be warmer, has more of that burgundy vibe to it, whereas this is going to be cooler. It has more of a pink berry look. This is one of the Merit lipsticks in the shade Fashion. We're going to put that right here. And you can see this one also has more of those reddish tones. It's not quite as burgundy or brick as Hyssop. It's kind of in between the two Chantecaille shades. I have to say I do really like these Merit lipsticks. I think they are a great option. And surprisingly, those are really the only two shades I have that look similar. I did actually go through and open up like pretty much every lipstick to double check, but those are going to be the closest comparisons I have to Orchid. So I think it's a really nice shade here. Let's take a look. I've got quite a few comparisons for Passiflora. We're going to start off, let's go ahead and start off with some other Chantecaille lip shakes. This one here is Honeysuckle. This is not going to quite match up with this. We're going to put that right here. You can see this is going to be a little bit warmer, has a little bit more peach in it. But this is a shade that so many people have that I figure it's worth swatching just for sake of comparison. Then we have Plumeria, which came out last year. And I have to say, I really love this color. This has more mauve in it. You can see it's going to be a little bit cooler, a little bit pinker in it. And the Passiflora is a little bit more neutral. This is Frisia from the Giraffe collection. And you can see here that these are going to be fairly similar. There are some differences here. You can see that Passiflora is slightly warmer, but they're really close. Honestly, I think if you have Frisia, Passiflora is close enough. I mean, they're really pretty close. This is one of the Dior Addict Lip Shines. This is 527 Atelier. And you can see that this is going to be a little bit It's a little bit warmer, but also a little bit pinker, more like a little bit more of a warmer rose shade than the uh, Passiflora. And then we're looking at a few of the Victoria Beckham lipsticks, the Posh lipsticks. This one here is Spark. Let's see here. Let's try and, you know what? We'll just re-swatch. There we go. So here is Spark. I'm just going to re-swatch the Passiflora. We'll put that right here so we have a nice big comparison area. This is Jump. You can see Jump is going to be a little bit more berry. Spark's a little bit closer to Passiflora, but it also has a touch more red in it. It's a little bit warmer. And then we have Sway here. And if you are interested, you can see Sway is going to be more pink, definitely a little bit more pigmented than Passiflora. These are not quite as shiny as the Chantecaille lip cheeks. They're a nice lipstick as well, but if you're looking for something that's a little bit more subdued, doesn't have quite as much of a high shine finish, they might be a good option as well. So those are my best comparisons for this Chantecaille Black Jaguar collection. Let me know what you think of this collection if you're picking anything up from here. To say, I think it's a really nice collection. It's expensive. The Chantecaille Quartet is $75, and as I mentioned, the shades are on the smaller side. But I have to say, you know, I was kind of on the fence because of the price originally, but I have to say I'm glad that I picked this one up. I definitely think that the formulas are fantastic. They look great in the eyes. There's something a little special. I have to say, I feel like with the Giraffe Quartet, that's kind of when I've noticed a difference in formulas from these quartets. I feel like the Giraffe Quartet and this Cougar Quartet so far, they've been just a little bit creamier. They have, you know, I haven't had any fallout really with those, a little bit with Giraffe. But, you know, they just seem a bit more refined than some of the previous versions. I feel like they've kind of stepped up their formulas a bit, and I have to say I'm really loving them. And I have to admit the Giraffe Quartet is one that I'm still using all the time. And I always get compliments on that one. So I do think that, you know, for me, it's well worth spending for this quartet. I think even if you don't want to be as vibrant and blue, you know, that coppery brown shade is fantastic. And I think this quartet itself plays really well with other neutrals that you might have in your collection. You can use the blues kind of as a pop if you want. They work well as a liner and so forth as well. But I'm just really happy with this more adventurous color story from them and the quality of the shadows in this one. So really happy with that. The lip cheeks, I have to say, I do really like both shades in this collection. The Passiflora, I absolutely love it. But again, as I mentioned, I do think it's very close to Freesia. So if you already have Freesia, you might want to reconsider that one. But I feel like the Orchid is more unique. You know, I don't have a lip cheek like that. You know, the closest is Hyssop, which is significantly warmer in my opinion. So I think they did a great job with this collection. I can't wait to try the Cougar collection. And again, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you sign for notifications so you know when that one pops up. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave them down below in the comments, and I hope you have a wonderful day.